Boundaries and families. This is a bit of a hot topic, isn't it? Boundaries and families. So what is a boundary for a start? A boundary is where you say what is okay and what's not okay, what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept. Now, when you have no boundaries at all, you're like this. You can't tell where you begin and where where you end and someone else begins. When you have boundaries, you become two separate entities because you know where you stop and you know where the other person begins. Isn't that cool? Wouldn't you want to know that? It gets a bit messy otherwise, doesn't it? It gets messy when it's like this. This is so much neater. So when someone says that they love you, they actually need to know that they love all of you. And it's in most cases, people express conditional love. I love you when, I love you if. That's not unconditional love. It's not real love. I love you, but there's another one, right? And so you're left with how much of myself do I express with my family? How much of this is really safe? And I do apologize. I'm going to be looking at notes as I give you this video to make sure I get all of the details here for you. So I want you to embrace this concept. You have the right to offend people. Because you and your truth is going to be offensive to some people, to someone else. You're not going to be able to please everyone. And the only one that's really needing to be pleased is you. You're the only one that you can reliably please because you're the only one that who knows what you really want. And if you do something that doesn't please you, well, change it. Go, okay, well, that didn't work. I didn't really like that. Well, do something different. But you're the only one that you can please because you can't go around mind reading everyone. And sometimes you do something that you think is going to please someone, and what they do, they go, oh, that was nice. What did you do that for? You think, why did I bother? I don't like that. So do it for yourself. And when you set strong boundaries, you're basically giving people the responsibility of the emotions back to them. Like, here you go. So you're not taking on that responsibility. It needs to be done respectfully, kindly, with tact, because if you're doing it with love, you'll want to do that. When you're learning, you might find that you go off the deep end and a few times, and you kind of find yourself lashing out rather than just gently saying, no, this is yours, you need to take that. And that's okay too. That's perfectly normal. It's called this pendulum syndrome or pendulum effect or something like this by Susan Jeffers, whereby when you're learning a new behaviour and you're learning to set those boundaries and learning what's okay and what's not, you go to the extremes. You go through to being aggressive to passive, and eventually, over time, you swing, and you'll come to a place where you're in balance. So you'll go through that space. You might find even act in that space. Sometimes you swing backwards and forwards. And so over time, that comes more and more the habit and more the way as you start to go, okay, that's too far. That's too far. Okay, that's still too far. But not as far as it was, but still a bit too far. That's still a bit too far. Oh, okay, here in the middle somewhere. But it can vary. How long it takes is really down to you. How long it takes you to learn what's okay and what's not, and what feels right and what's not, and how people react to you, and how sensitive you are to that. And honouring what someone else wants is giving them love and care. So if you say no, and someone wants to force you to do something, and they're not accepting your no, then that's not really showing that you love and care for them, is it? Or that they're showing love and care for you. So look at that too, and notice how people are, and reflect it back in a gentle way. And the tendency is that we're conditioned to actually be responsible for how someone else feels. Because how often do we say, they made me feel this way? I feel like this because of what they did. their fault. Or you do something and someone else is crying, you're like, oh, I made that person cry. Oh, now you feel bad and you feel like you've got to do something about it. I think that's the other side of this too, isn't it? So there's the blame kind of game that we play with ourselves and others. So I'm going to repeat this again. Boundaries are giving back responsibility for emotional responses back to everyone else. So we, including myself, including yourself. So we get to choose who we care about, and we get to choose how we show that care. And when we have boundaries and they're strict and we know what we want, that's when we're really growing up and becoming an adult. Because as a kid, we don't know. And we have to be taught these things. If we don't taught them, well, guess what? We stay kind of childlike, or childish, really. And so when we have those boundaries, we're starting to become more like an adult, having an adult kind of attitude towards ourselves and others. So in a relationship, we've got parent-child relationship. The relationship isn't reciprocal, so there's no give and take in a child-parent relationship. The kids won't give you time or space because they're completely reliant on the parent. The only time that you can really say no to a boundary is when it impedes safety. So if they're about to do something that is going to hurt them, then you'd set a strong boundary there. So within this then, we do what we want, but with consequences, and we become aware of those consequences. We understand that when we set a boundary, there's going to be a consequence to that, just like if there's no boundary, there's a consequence to that. So not setting a boundary, the consequence is I don't know myself from another person. I'm taking on their responsibilities. I'm taking on their emotional stuff. I'm taking on responsibility for someone else's actions half the time. And it can feel like it's overburdening, and I'm not taking responsibility for my own stuff. And I'm not taking responsibility for my own stuff. Who is? And should they be? So boundaries are so important, especially within family tribes and situations where you're, and it doesn't matter whether it's a family unit, like a mother, father, children, or even if you're in a flatting situation, whatever it is, you need to have really good boundaries. And if you're saying yes to everyone else, you're really saying no to you. So I'd love to know your thoughts about boundaries and family relationships, and if this video has helped you in any way, or how you might think about applying some boundaries in your family unit or in your life in general, and what that would look like and how you expect that might change your life. If you have strong boundaries, I'd love to know what you love about it, how you use those boundaries with your family members, how you show that you love and care about them. And everything that you share here really will help people to have better boundaries. So please do share. And if you have more questions than you have answers, that's cool too. Please write your questions in the comments. I'll do my best to get to answer everyone's questions. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. In the meantime, do hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you get reliable notifications about every video, because I'm doing these daily so that you get to live your best life this year. Check out the playlist. Maybe you'll find some other information that you never thought of that you'd love. There's energy healing in there, meditations, success strategies for every part of your life. And so I would love to see more of you and have more of your interaction and play. It's awesome. So thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Namaste.